All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday, November 2nd, and we have an 8-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays so that I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, do want to fade me. All of that is going to be absolutely free down in the pinned comment. In terms of how we did yesterday, let's pump in some crowd noise. Let's fire off the money gun. A 3-0 night. Let's go. And we were traveling on the road. Road games, no problem. Drop the cha-ching there. A 3-0 night. Wendell Carter Jr. comes through for us. The Magic first half, no sweat. And then Amen Thompson. He hit both of those lines pretty much individually, right? Well, damn near. He had 9 rebounds, 8 assists, or vice versa. So very, very nice to see that there. He had 17 rebounds plus assists. Now, as much as I want to relish in yesterday's sweep, we are now presented with a new day, so we have to lock in for that. Hopefully pull some momentum from yesterday into today. But first, let's talk about the ride of the day. We didn't have one yesterday, so it is up for grabs right now. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day or ROTD down in the comments. Give me your favorite play. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. So you got to use that hashtag ride of the day. That is how we select someone. That is how we find someone. So get your favorite plays down in the comments with that hashtag. What do you say we go ahead and dive into game number 1 here? Guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's jump into it. Thunder taking on the Pelicans here. Thunder 12.5 point favorites. That's total is up to 229.5. Now, one thing I want to note is looks like we're going to see no Chet Holmgren in this game. So the starting lineup, projected at least, is SGA, Cason Wallace, Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, and Hardenstein. I do think this is a good spot to probably back Isaiah Hardenstein because this is a Pelicans team that really does struggle against the center, right? When you think about it. I mean, and even looking at some of the centers they've played this year, Zubats had a little bit of an off game, but Jokic didn't hit his PRA line. But he had 43 PRA, right? You had Valanciunas hit it. Naemis Quedas hit it. Luke Cornett hit it. He had 30 PRA against them. With Isaiah Hardenstein here, what we're looking for is 25 PRA. So over 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I think that's where I want to start in this game because they are fairly light to that center position. So far this season, in terms of points, rebounds, and assists allowed, they're allowing the 3rd most assists to centers, the 5th most rebounds, and the 2nd most points. No big man, true competition for Hardenstein down there. I like him in this spot. So that's where I'm going to look. In terms of a side, yeah, I mean, the Thunder are probably going to be what I would take a peek at, right? This Pelicans team isn't really doing too much for me. They're, what, 0-5 on the year? Thunder are 6-0 or 5-0? I believe it's 6-0. You have a tale of 2 different tapes here with the team. So I'm going to lean Thunder in some sort of a parlay, but it is Sunday basketball. If you guys aren't aware, some weird stuff can happen in the NBA. I think I'm a little bit more aligned with the player prop. In terms of a total, I don't mind the idea of New Orleans team total under. They like to shoot in the paint, in the mid-range, in the restricted area. So the mid-range and the restricted area, in the paint and the restricted area, the Thunder are really good at defending. The mid-range, they're being shot on the fewest. So they're deferring these players from even wanting to be able to shoot in the mid-range, the fewest frequency. So I like the idea of the Pelicans struggling to score in this one. Next up, we have the Cavs taking on the Hawks. Now, Trae Young still out from this Hawks lineup. Jared Allen, we do want to keep an eye on. He's listed as questionable in this spot, but he is listed as questionable in the expected lineup. Same thing with Donovan Mitchell. Those guys don't play. Obviously, this is a much different Cavs team. If they do play, I don't mind the -6.5 here. I do think the Cavs at home in a decent enough spot where their interior defense isn't all that poor, right? And then you look at what the this Hawks team likes to do. 3rd highest frequency in terms of trying to shoot at the restricted area, a little bit in the paint as well. The only other place it's shooting a lot from is the corner 3, which I will give them a little bit of credit. That's a very soft spot from the Cavs. Right now, right corner through the first, handful of games, 50% of their opponents in the right corner and 60% of their opponents' field goal percentage in the left corner. So anyone that shoots it from the corner, you could be looking at here from the Hawks side of things, but that's not enough to get me over to their side. So give me the Cavs in this spot. The total's at 229. I almost want to say Cleveland team total over. I think they're a little bit better defensively than the Hawks, right? So Cleveland should be able to score at will. But the problem with the Hawks is, like, can they get through this Cavs defense to contribute to a total? One of these teams is going to play very good defense today, and I'll tell you why. Because we have 229.5 for 2 of the top 5 pace teams in the league, right? So who's going to play the better defense? I would like to err on the side of the Cavs, but I like the idea of the Cavs team total over there. From a player prop perspective, I did kind of mention, I think that we could look at some of these guys that are shooting a lot from the corner. Now, obviously a small sample size, but Onyeka Okongwu or Mohamed Gay, two of the guys that may be shooting, and also that makes sense, right? Kind of their big fours slash even stretch fives, if you want to go that far. Maybe not playing 2-2 down low because of Mobley, because of Allen. We talked about the rim protection of the Cavs. Maybe some of these guys do take a couple more threes today, so that might be a spot that we look at. But again, that's kind of like a thin line. Like, even though they're leading the team in corner threes per game, it's like 1.8 and 2.1. You know what I mean? Still very, very low. Now, guys, before we do move on with the rest of the slate, I want to talk to you about Chalkboard. And I know we're talking basketball here, but it is NFL Sunday, and they have a Drake May 0.5 passing yards line for you guys to go take advantage of, new users. There's also a ton of other promos and discounts and boosts on the app right now. So go check it out, guys. Link down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. You're also going to get that first deposit match. And again, you get access to all of the discounts that are already on the app, not just the new customer offer. So check it out. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Absolutely loving Chalkboard lately. Let's get to the rest of these games. Jumping back into it, we have the Nets taking on the Sixers right now. Nets getting 5.5 points. Total sitting at 233.5. This is Sixers team, 4-1 on the season. They're coming off of a loss to the Celtics, and that was a close one, right? They easily ball could have bounced one way, and they win that one. 109-108, some big turnovers and missed foul shots at the end for the Celtics. Brooklyn's still winless on the year. They've played Charlotte, Cleveland, San Antonio, Houston, and Atlanta, and they're 0-5. Now, the defense really hasn't looked all that great. They're ranked 30th in terms of defensive efficiency and second worst in terms of points per game. This Philadelphia team has actually been very, very efficient to start the year offensively, and I think that kind of transcends into this game as well. The fact that Maxey, is taking the step up that he is, and same thing with obviously Edgecombe. Like, this backcourt is very good, and it's Ben Suraf and Cam Thomas in the backcourt potentially covering them, right? So I like the idea of the Sixers. Now, you're not going to have Joel Embiid. He's out of this one, so yeah, that might be why this line is a little shaved towards the lower side, but I think Joel Embiid's like their third look right now, almost. You can make that argument, right? Definitely the second look, so I do think that this is a line that kind of reflects him being out, but maybe he's not actually worth that many points. I think you're getting a discount on the Sixers today. In terms of a total, I do think that, much like we just talked about the Cavs, this Nets defense isn't very good. I think the Sixers could score on them. I'd hate to lean towards the over, and then all of a sudden, the Nets offense really doesn't contribute, doesn't carry their weight. So I would say slightly into the over, but more of an emphasis on the Sixers getting their side of things done, so it may be a pivot towards the Sixers team total over. I like the idea in terms of player props of Cam Thomas today, just in terms of how he fits. Now, he's had a very, very up and down year, but he shoots a lot of his shots from either the above the break or the mid-range, which is pretty good in the sense against this Sixers team, so I will say that. And then also, in terms of pick-and-roll ball handler, this Sixers squad is allowing the 5th worst effective, or I guess most, effective field goal percentage to their opponent, so 5th worst for them, but it's a high number, right? And also, in terms of pick-and-roll ball handlers from a player points perspective, he scores 28% of his points that way. So I think that we could see a good Cam Thomas game. The problem is I do think that the books beat us to it. It's at 24.5 right now, and he hasn't got that. He has only hit that in 2 of his 5 games so far. So it's a little weird. Hornets taking on the Jazz right now. Hornets 1.5 point favorites. Total sitting at 238.5. This Jazz team 2-3, Hornets 2-4. Utah coming off of 2 straight losses. I mean, they kind of got beat down by Phoenix, which was a little shocking. They did compete in that game against the Blazers. Charlotte coming off of 3 straight losses, and they really haven't looked good in, I guess you could say, all 3 of those. Miami, Orlando, and then it was Minnesota, I think it was. So where do we come out on either one of these squads? Well, I'll tell you right now, nothing seems too consistent or efficient, both offensively and defensively, though. So this is definitely a game where Ev's on the fence, right? I think I'm going to lean towards Utah, because I do think that they have, a little bit more of a sturdy front down low, which may matter if things get a little sloppy here. If you're going to give me, LaMelo Ball and Colin Sexton over Myachuk and, Keontae George, I get where maybe you can make the argument the backcourt's better, but you have to hit shots if you're going to be jacking them from above the break, right? And this is a Utah team that has allowed plenty of points from above the break, but same thing with Charlotte. So if we're going to have a 3-point war, I think it would be pretty even, but where the distinguishing factor in this game is going to be, at least in my opinion, is going to be down low. Now, that being said, I'll give you, and granted, this is going to be without Walker Kessler, right? He's got a shoulder bruise or something like that. So he's out of this one. So obviously that's a knock on their bigs, but Yusuf Nurkic, I would say really isn't the worst replacement, especially because he is a big burly center. I think that he could do some damage. Right now his point sign's at 9.5. You're paying -165 over on DK. I don't mind 10.5, but obviously it's a weird number for a center. Most likely not going to hit a 3. I like Nurkic in this spot. I could go with his points, or his points even plus assists, because I think he could get the ball and they kind of like crash on him. Rebounds potentially, but I do think him being kind of a sub in center might be deferred to some other guys getting boards. But yeah, I think Nurkic can do enough here. Maybe look at him from a points perspective. But give me the Jazz in this spot plus the 1.5. In terms of that total, again, this is where it's really, really tricky and I'm on the fence. I could easily see this being an inefficient offensive day because we've seen that plenty from both these squads, but the defenses aren't all that great, right? I'm going to say because there is, such a lack thereof of defense on the perimeter, I'm going to lean slightly to the over. But guys, it's obviously a very, very thin lean. I've talked about both sides out of my mouth, you know what I mean? Both sides of this, so not exactly my favorite spot. Raptors taking on the Grizzlies for our next one. Raptors are 5.5 point favorites, total at 238.5. So in this one, no Ja Morant, no Clark, no Edey, no Ty Jerome, no Pippen for the Grizzlies. But on the other side, no, Shed, or potentially he's questionable actually, but no Jakob Poeltl definitely, which is obviously a big deal. Now I would say if Ja was playing, that's even a bigger deal, right? Because he's going to take it down low and try and score at the rim and all that jazz. But Ja isn't playing, and obviously that is a massive, massive hit to this Grizzlies squad. So I get why the line is where it is. You have this, Raptors team that's obviously played with a decent enough pace so far to start the season. They're a top 10 pace team, and they're scoring over 60% in transition. This is a Memphis team that's almost allowing 60% in transition. So I do think the Raptors will get the ball and run, but I could see Memphis scoring down low as well. Now, would it be more of a slam dunk? Pun, I guess, intended, with no Jakob Poeltl down there? Like I mentioned, yes. But overall, I think this is a nice spot to take a peek at both the Raptors and the over. In fact, if you wanted to move that line down a little bit, you can go like Raptors money line in a same game parlay with total over 227.5, something like that, right? Where it's an alternate line. So definitely something, I guess, worth considering here in this spot. When it comes to player props, obviously a first look would be to like someone like Jaren Jackson Jr. because obviously no Jakob Poeltl, so that's something to definitely consider. But I also want to target this Memphis perimeter. Right now they're allowing plenty of threes, and the only true guy that's, I don't even know if hucking threes is the right way of putting it because that sounds demeaning, but the only guy that really is shooting a lot of threes and at a good quality for this Toronto squad is Emmanuel Quickley, and his points line you can get at 15.5 right now. That might be a spot in which I want to get involved, so I like the idea of him. In terms of this Memphis team, they've been decent to point guards defensively so far this year. I don't know if that's because of Ja or KCP, obviously, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, I don't know if he's going to get the Quickley assignment because you have to worry about all the other scorers on the floor there as well. So I think the Quickley could be a decent look here and kind of the forgotten about assignment with all these other names, Barrett, Ingram, Scotty Barnes on the floor with him. So we could see some threes out of him today, which could either be his points or his threes line. Either one I like. All right, Knicks taking on the Bulls. Obviously, we just saw this matchup a couple days ago, right? And the Bulls won that one 135-125. We had the Knicks -3.5 in that game. Doesn't come through, right? I do think that, this early in the year when you do one of these, the last game we played, like it's like a 2-game series within 3 days, I do still believe, especially early in the year, that it's like a you get yours, I get mine type of a thing. So for that reason, and is it the most, analytical reason and whatnot? No. But for that reason, I think I'm going to lean towards the Knicks who are now at home. There's 6.5s out there. I like the idea of the Knicks today, especially as like some sort of a parlay piece, right? Maybe we could look at the Thunder and the Knicks on a parlay, and I mean, maybe that's still a juice to play, but the point and the meaning behind it is still there. I think the Knicks get their get back. The problem is 7 points is a lot to win by, especially against a Bulls team that is 5-0 on the season. They're the #1 pace team, and along with that pace, they're the #4 offensive efficiency team. Like, they're doing really well. The thing is, the Knicks, I guess prior to at least that game that they just played against the Bulls, were really good defensively in transition. Didn't come through and didn't come to fruition in that game, but it's still in there. They may be getting Mitchell Robinson in this game as well, which I do think is a big add to them. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Knicks in this spot. I think Robinson obviously, only actually he played a decent amount in that Bulls game, right? It was like 18 to 19, maybe 20 minutes. I think that he's going to be a big piece to stopping this Bulls team scoring in the paint, which they like to do right at the rim and everything like that. So Knicks get their get back today. I like them. That total at 237.5. I also like the under. This is somewhat related to how I'm viewing the game going, like the Knicks stopping the Bulls now in transition and stopping them at the rim and them not getting many easy points. So I think the Knicks win this one, and that's why I like the under. It's correlated. If you still like the Bulls and you think the Bulls take this, I would not be shocked if you also really do like the idea of the over, right? Now, from a player prop perspective, definitely gone back and forth here. I almost want to say that this is a good spot for anyone in the Bulls to kind of shoot from the perimeter. With Towns and Robinson down low, I get it, but they also have good perimeter defenders, right, in Bridges and Anunoby. So I want to look at some Bulls perimeter guys, like someone like Isaac Okoro, who's shooting a lot of threes, but at the same time, like Anunoby and or Bridges will be all over him if need be, you know? So maybe we pass on the player props in this one. Suns taking on the Spurs. Spurs 5-0 on the year. The Suns just 2-4, but definitely coming off of a game in which they looked pretty good, both, I guess, offensively and defensively. Now, it was against the Jazz, so I get it, but still, that was probably their best game of the year. You could maybe make the argument night number one, but even still, they almost lost that one. This Spurs squad is good, and they've played some thrillers, right? 107-101, they let the Heat right back in that game, but still pulled out the win. This is a team against the number is 4-0-1. They are on the road here. They do also have a bunch of days, I think, off after this, like maybe 2 or 3 days off. I think it's still a good spot for San Antonio. And you flip it over to what this Suns team is doing, right? Mark Williams, Ryan Dunn is the 4 and the 5. Obviously, Mark Williams is a big guy, but Ryan Dunn being your 4, I think the Spurs team's going to be able to dominate inside. And who's going to dominate inside? Wemby. And if Wemby's comfortable, I do see them obviously being able to navigate this game well. So 5.5 points, I would think, is not nearly enough if I were to be betting the Suns. So I'm going to lean towards the Spurs here in this spot. Total being at 227.5. I think this may be a decent spot to look at the Suns team total under. They've been shooting a ton of in the paint shots, which obviously the Spurs either, make you defer that option, and or if you do come in the paint, they might block it and make it difficult, right? So you're either kicking it out. Now I'd be like, oh, you're kicking it out. That's a problem, right? They're also not allowing many teams to shoot the corner 3 or above the break 3 on them. The Spurs are doing a very good job of making offensive teams make bad decisions in terms of where they're scoring from and forcing people kind of into that mid-range sector, right? Which the Suns aren't all that good at scoring from. So, I mean, Devin Booker is, but you need a whole team to do it. So I think I'm going to lean towards an under on the Suns side, under in the team total category for them. I do think that this could be another, I know I sound like a broken record, but another parlay piece with the Spurs. I like them today. Them being on the road does concern me just a little bit, and at some point I think that they have a letdown game and they lose their undefeated season. But knowing that they have, they don't play again until the 5th. Knowing they have the 3rd and the 4th off, they may be able to exhaust all resources in this one. So we shall see. From a player prop perspective, I do like Wemby and I like his, options in this spot, but those lines are so high at this point. Lakers taking on the Heat. This is going to be the game to close out today's video. DeAndre Ayton's probable. Norm Powell listed as questionable. Terry Rozier out. Tyler Hero also out in this spot. I think there's a lot of points to give a Heat team that I do think is pretty pesky and kind of sticks around. I'm going to lean Heat plus the 4.5. The only true reason I'm somewhat confident that has a chance of being a final play is the fact that, well, first and foremost, this Heat team has been good, right? They've beaten the Knicks. They kept it close with Orlando, kept it close with San Antonio. I think that they can stop the Lakers from scoring in the paint, which is absolutely massive overall. This Lakers team, like that is, if you look at their shot charts and the frequency, there's really one green box in terms of where they're shooting from, and it's in the paint, outside of the restricted area, but in the paint. This Heat team, top 10 in terms of stopping their opponents from scoring in the paint. In fact, that exact shooting zone, so in the paint from the foul line to the restricted area, 35.4 field goal percentage to their opponents. That is really, really good. I don't think this Lakers team has what it takes to get the ball and run. Luka obviously being the best player in this series by far, but I would argue the Heat, their core in their team may have players, 2, 3, 4, 5 in terms of the top 5 guys in this series, or in this game. So I do think this could be a nice look at the Heat, almost like a Heat potentially outright as well. Again, I think the Lakers struggle to score. From a total perspective, I'm going to lean towards the under. I like the idea of the Lakers slowing things down. I don't think the Heat are going to sit there and be like, we need to run, we need to run, we need to run. But even if they do, I think there's going to be a lot of missed shots, in a sense, on the Lakers side of things. So don't mind the idea of an under. From a player prop perspective, I'm considering guys like Rui Hachimura or even DeAndre Ayton or even Marcus Smart. They're under in points. I think they have awful positions today and matchups today overall, going up against Khalil Ware, Bam Adebayo, and or Andrew Wiggins, right? So I kind of like the idea of some unders on the Lakers side of things. I'm not crazy enough to ever take a Luka under because he can drop 50 at the drop of a hat, but I don't think that anyone's going to have all that easy of a time scoring today. Guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you guys did enjoy, if you did, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment 19 if you made it this far into the video, letting me know that you made it all the way through. Enjoy your Sundays. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.